every year we've been at Kollosche, we've managed to almost double the previous year.
On track to do about 6 million GCI this financial year.
Healthy mind and a healthy body. If you can achieve that, your business will look after itself.
Lots happened in 2 years. Alrighty, Adam, welcome to the podcast, and nice to have you here to share some of your insights.
No, thank you very much.
So, how long have you been with Kollosche now?
Just over 2 years since we joined. Yeah.
Lots happened in 2 years.
A lot. Yeah, it's been a very fast journey, but a really good one for us.
Yeah, so it looks like you're on track to do about 6 million GCI this financial year, based on the unconditional figures I've been looking at, and that's taken you from probably nearly 8 times your PB. Yeah,
so it's then that's why it's been such a quick journey. It's gone from just sub $1 million. Double to double again, so it's almost been every year we've been at Kollosche, we've managed to almost double the previous year.
So what do you think is or what's contributed to that and been the major factors for your success?
I think if we go back to the first 5-6 years that we were doing commercial, we were very much comfortable once we got to a stage of selling a certain asset class at a certain price point. And I think it was only when we joined Kollosche, the first day we walked in and we saw the transactions and the structure that everybody else had in the office, replicating that, I think it just gave us I wouldn't say confidence, but it was a mindset shift to understand that, we can run parallel with the same clientele that the residential guys are doing, utilize the database really well, and then we just elevated ourselves to that different price point of property. So the main shift was just focusing on a different asset class and different price point property.
Yep, and probably the implementation, as you said, of all the structure and the systems to obviously give you a lot more capacity. And would you say that yourself and Tony sort of mapped out that customer journey throughout the commercial division to ensure that everyone that you're dealing with receives that sort of 6-star experience? And I think from what I've seen, you've now tried to prepare yourselves to make it as easy as possible for buyers and sellers to transact.
Mapping out the journey is important, and I think that what we've really done well since we joined Kollosche is that in order to have a high volume business in terms of high volume of sales and turnover of properties, is that the better prepared you are at the start of the process, the easier the journey is for everyone else involved. And I think it always comes back to acting in the best interest of the vendor, so having absolutely everything ready prior to going to market, so you're not in week 2, 3 and 4 asking for information and chasing information you should have had at the start.
Yeah. Now you've got a huge swag of sales between 15 and 50 million under your belt. 2 years ago, that probably was something that you couldn't have imagined would have been possible, and now it's sort of like a quarterly occurrence that I see you putting a $40-odd million sale up on the board. Yeah,
I think it's a mix of a credit to yourself, because when we joined Kollosche, we sat down. I think going back, we sat down every 2 weeks and for 15 minutes and asked you for one piece of advice. What do we do in the next 2 weeks to better our business? And we, I wouldn't say gave us the confidence, because I think we always had the ability and confidence, but it was just ensuring that we didn't go back to a comfort zone where we were doing what we have done in the past, and so continually pushing ourselves, because we knew that we had the experience, the knowledge, and we had the ability to service the clients. It was just ensuring we didn't fall back into what at the time was a comfort zone, and that was the big key.
So essentially burning the boats, as they say, when you threw away all of those probably cheaper properties that you used to focus on, and then just turned your attention to a different asset class and a different product mix, and focused wholly and solely on that. And do you think there was a level of fear around that, and sort of moving out of the comfort zone and walking away from some of that business?
So I wouldn't say it was a fear of turning the business down, but it was in our position where we had so much repeat business, it was just from our point of view, it was a big commitment to ensure that we focused on what we wanted to do for the next 3, 4, 5 years moving forward. So we still service those clienteles, and we ensure that we can refer them on to the appropriate agents. And so we're still able to service our clients, but our main focus is to ensure that we focus on the asset class moving forward that we now enjoy the most, which is those more complicated assets, specialised assets, and we've been fortunate enough to have run some very big development site campaigns, and the database we've able to produce now, we comfortably can say that we can give one of the best services to the vendors because of that data we've now created.
Yep, perfect. And so I guess coming back to that, it's probably the business that you've said no to that has been a big part of the or the catalyst of springboarding you into that next level and next asset class, and a big part of your success.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So what do you think the key components are for anyone that is watching this or listening to this and wanting to build a really good, successful commercial sales business?
Yeah, I think that the full journey is important. So if we go back 10 years, my journey and Tony's journey started with, we were focused on leasing to start off with. We built the relationships. We, from that process, got a really good, thorough understanding of how intricate the commercial market is. We then went to sales in, yes, a lower price point, but we still had the ability to grow and learn a lot through that process. So I think it was the full journey was important, because I don't think you can just come into commercial real estate and tackle some of these big commercial assets, because there's so many different asset classes, there's so much to learn. So, that whole journey set us up for that next step, and it was just a matter of finding, the right, the joining Kollosche was the right step to make sure we could elevate ourselves into this new asset class. So I think it was the full 10 years was important, and it was just a matter of taking that jump, and it was the mentorship from Kollosche, the database from Kollosche, and we never had the right systems and processes in place to take on the work confidently, and I think we've learned how to do that since we've joined.
Yep. And I think for anyone that's sort of in the earlier stages of their career, it's important that they go sourcing that information, and some of it obviously is practical experience, but I think you spend a lot of time reading, looking at the market, asking questions, trying to actually expand your knowledge and experience so that you can therefore apply that across the different campaigns that you've been working on, and so I've noticed that, and you spend a lot of time upskilling yourself, and likewise with Tony. So for anyone wanting to fast track that part of their career, that's probably one of the key components to be able to talk confidently about the assets they're dealing on.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because what the big difference in commercial is you've got multiple asset classes. You've got legislation which changes in those asset classes. You've got a town planning impact, which is going to the highest and best use from a property from year to year can change based on the town plan being amended. So if you're not continually up to scratch with what is happening in the market, what is happening with legislation, and how different industries are performing, you don't have that knowledge, I think, to move into that more, call it prestige asset class in commercial, the higher end asset class. But we're also dealing with vendors, buyers who are extremely experienced, and so if you aren't able to have those conversations with them, they will often know more than you, and you need to ensure you've done all the research beforehand so you can confidently talk about them.
So obviously a large portion of your business has now become repeat and referral customers, and what do you think the main criteria is to foster that ecosystem and get that continued repeat business?
To get repeat business, well, in commercial, firstly, the timeline that someone owns a property is far longer than that of a residential journey. Typically, people buy commercial property as an investment strategy for cash flow. So they may hold that property in perpetuity. It might be something they hand down in generations. So, it's aligning yourself with people that rely on you for strategic advice. Being the first person to give them recommendations, update them on what might be happening. If you've got an interstate vendor, they might not be aware of how the light rail is going to maybe impact their property if it's positioned in that corridor. And so it's ensuring that you're educating or educating and just continually updating your clients on what's happening, what they can do to reposition their asset, and where can you add value. So not necessarily calling to ask for business, because that is it's a very long journey. Just making sure that you're there as their first call as a strategic advisor.
Yeah, so you're essentially providing them with value throughout that whole process, and not being the agent that's just ringing them up, asking them if they want to sell or asking them if they want to buy. You're actually doing all of that heavy lifting through the process, and you're doing that across an entire portfolio of assets for clients, and then they're consistently coming back and buying more off you, or alternatively looking towards you for transacting, or sending a lot of referral business to you as well.
Yeah, and if you're offering properties to people off market or on market, and you're well prepared, there's an element of trust which helps both sides of the process. You've got a vendor that will not get offers that are subject to due diligence and finance, and you've also got a vendor that's not going to get offers that fall over because you haven't disclosed the right information. And there's the element of trust from the buyers, knowing that these guys have actually put a lot of thought and process through the information they've given me, and they can make a decision almost on face value.
To maintain the level of success and the workload that you do, you've got to have a balanced lifestyle, and probably would be good to hear just some of the things that you do in your daily habits, routines, disciplines that have allowed you to be as successful as you are now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to quote you on this one, because this is something that you've just instilled for the last 2 years since I've joined here, is that a healthy mind and a healthy body. If you can achieve that, your business will look after itself. So I'm still learning and adapting and making sure that I'm bettering myself, but I am very disciplined with the fact that I'm exercising every morning. My diet is very good, and I just ensure that with the workload that we've got, without that, it's very hard to maintain at 12. Sometimes we go through periods of 12-hour days for weeks on end. So, without having that small little bit of a break to work on yourself, I think it's not sustainable. So I've been very disciplined in, it's 4:30 wake up, it's 5:30 gym, and if I don't leave the office until 7:38, I'll still go for a walk when I get home, just to re-regulate and reset, so I don't walk in and keep working, essentially. So I have to have that shut off, but not everyone's the same. I have maybe more of an extreme version of it, but I'm if I don't do that, my day isn't set up correctly, and I don't feel like I'm performing my best.
Yep. So what's ahead for you now and Tony the next sort of 3 to 5 years? Have you sort of thought that far ahead on what you want to achieve?
Yeah, I think that it's to continue the projection that we're going in, and that is we're building in a really good team behind us and with us to ensure that we can service the amount of business that we are able to generate, and just to continue being what we would call the market leaders as an information source. So we want to be the people that if you need advice or you need recommendations, not only looking to sell your property, but if you need any sort of guidance, that they come to Kollosche Commercial or Adam and Tony, and we're able to be that information source for people and have a really good team behind us to provide that.
So if you had the opportunity to go back and talk to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself back then to obviously help you succeed either earlier, or what would you change?
Probably two answers to that. I think that I would... there's a lot I wouldn't change in terms of the hard yards and the grind that we did do to educate and position ourselves correctly. But I would remove the, in previous companies, there are accolades at levels which give you a mindset cap. So, when we came to Kollosche, the best example is that we came in with a couple of stripes on our chest for winning certain awards. And I remember the first day walking in and looking at the sales board and realised that there were 3 or 4 agents that in the last month had achieved what you get recognised for being in the top 3 or 1% of other companies for. So it was removing that barrier that I think was key. And I think that if I'd done that earlier, I would have excelled quicker.
So you're saying that with some of those guys in the business are writing more in a month than most of the others would be writing in a year?
Yeah, and I think you can get caught in like a capsule where you've achieved something and that is all that there is to achieve, because you've got your plaque from other companies and you're named in the top 3 or 5%, and then you realise that there's that capacity is far greater than that. And I think it was a mindset cap, because you've achieved the highest award that you can at a franchise. But that doesn't, when you walk into this office, that doesn't even get you a car park at the end of the month. So, it was a big mind shift change to realise, well, there's a lot more out there, and you're not capped at all in this business. It's an unlimited cap.
A quick recap before we finish up. What are some of the most notable transactions that you've done over the course of the last 2 years since you've been here?
I think the Voyager campaign was one of the main ones. I mean, that was a process which attracted, I think we had over 180 inquiries. I think we had to conduct over 50 inspections. We had over 30 first round offers, and it was dealing with a lot of people that knew each other, and everybody in the industry looking at us to ensure. I mean, I think there were people in our industry that wanted us not to succeed, and I think that achieving 45 million or just over during that process was one of the most memorable. I think that was a process that couldn't have been run any better and transparently than we did. And then, the off-market transactions that Tony's done with the lanes, which he was able to match a buyer and seller off-market to what will become one of the best retail precincts in Southeast Queensland, and being part of that is something that, not just the sale side, which was, in the mid 30 millions, but it was the fact that we're involved with a process which is going to really change the Gold Coast landscape in terms of retail was the main one. I think those would be our two main highlights, those ones.
Yeah, some great sales. Adam, thanks for your time today, and I think there's a lot of valuable insights there that some of the listeners can get, so I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, guys.